Sally Field really couldn't stand him. She hated him more than anyone else she ever worked with. Let me tell you her amazing story from the very beginning. Sally Margaret Field was born on November 6, 1946, in a city called Pasadena in California. She grew up in a family that was already connected to Hollywood and making movies. Her mom, Margaret Field, was an actress who appeared in films. Her stepdad, whose name was Jock Mahoney, was a famous actor and also did dangerous stunts in movies. Because of these early connections to Hollywood and the movie business, young Sally got to see and learn about the entertainment world when she was still just a kid. But let me tell you, her journey to becoming a star wasn't easy at all. Her childhood had some tough times. She dealt with emotional problems and had to handle the challenges of living in a family where not everyone was related by blood. Sally often talked about how she was a really shy girl who didn't feel confident about herself. But hidden underneath all that shyness was a natural gift for acting and a special charm that was just waiting to come out and shine bright. After she finished high school at Birmingham High School in a place called Van Nuys, Sally got her very first big chance to be on television. This moment would be the beginning of her whole acting career. In 1965, when Sally was still pretty young, she became super famous across America with her main role in a TV show called Gidget. It was a fun, silly sitcom about a happy teenage girl who loved to surf at the beach. Even though the show only lasted for one season before it got canceled, it showed everyone how warm and funny Sally could be. She had perfect timing for jokes and comedy, and audiences fell in love with her right away. 2 years after that, she got another role that people still remember today. From 1967 to 1970, she starred in a show called The Flying Nun, where she played a character named Sister Bertrill. She was a cheerful, happy nun who could actually fly through the air using her special hat. While the TV series was really popular and lots of people watched it, Field later said she felt stuck. She felt trapped in this image of being the cute, bubbly, always happy girl on TV. Deep down in her heart, she really wanted to break free from that image. She wanted so badly to prove to everyone that she was a serious actress who could handle emotional, deep, and complicated roles. That strong desire to change how people saw her became a major turning point in her whole life. Sally was determined to completely change and redefine herself as an actress. She decided to start studying acting with a famous teacher named Lee Strasberg at a place called the Actors Studio in New York. This experience completely transformed the way she acted and how confident she felt about her abilities. It turned her from just a beloved TV sweetheart that people thought was cute into a true, serious artist. Now she was ready to take on challenging, important, and meaningful roles that would shape and define the rest of her long career in Hollywood. Sally Field's hard work and determination finally paid off big time in 1976. That's when she gave an absolutely amazing, breathtaking performance in a movie made for TV called Sybil. In this movie, she played a young woman who was suffering from a mental condition called dissociative identity disorder, which means she had multiple different personalities living inside her. This role required an incredible amount of emotional depth and the ability to play many different characters. Field's acting was nothing short of amazing and transformative. Movie critics praised her for how intense and real she seemed, and her incredible performance earned her an Emmy Award, which is a big honor for TV actors. This marked a really important turning point in her career. For the first time ever, Hollywood and all the important people in the movie business stopped thinking of Sally Field as just the cheerful, silly TV actress from those light comedy shows. They began to see her and recognize her as a serious, dramatic actress with real power and talent. Her huge success in Sybil opened up doors to the exact kind of roles she had been dreaming about for years. These were roles that challenged her skills and let her show everyone her full capability and range as a truly talented actress. That moment of recognition reached its absolute peak in 1979. That's when Field starred in a powerful movie called Norma Ray. It told the story of a brave Southern woman who worked in a textile factory making clothes. She rises up to become a union activist who fights for workers' rights. Her portrayal of courage, strong conviction, and raw, real humanity touched people's hearts deeply. Both critics and regular audiences connected with her performance. The role earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, which is the biggest honor a movie actress can get. Her emotional speech when He accepted the Oscar became one of the most famous moments in Oscar history. She said, "You like me, you really like me." Those words captured her long-awaited validation and showed her genuine, honest gratitude for finally being recognized and appreciated. Throughout the whole decade of the 1980s, Sally Field kept showing everyone just how versatile and talented she was. She took on an impressive range of very different roles. She starred opposite an actor named Burt Reynolds, and the two of them had great chemistry together on screen. They also had a real-life romance off-screen that everyone talked about. They appeared together in movies like Smokey and the Bandit in 1977 and The End in 1978. Though their romantic relationship eventually came to an end and they broke up, it remained one of the most talked-about celebrity couples of that time period. Their relationship shaped a really significant chapter in both her personal life and her professional journey as an actress. Field's performances in Places in the Heart, which came out in 1984 and earned her a second Oscar for Best Actress, and Steel Magnolias in 1989 made her status as one of Hollywood's most respected and lasting talents even stronger. In every single role she played, she perfectly balanced showing vulnerability, which means being open and sensitive with showing strength and toughness. She portrayed women who fought hard, loved deeply, and endured difficult times with remarkable grace and dignity. Decade after decade, through the years, Sally Field proved over and over again that her power as an actress wasn't something temporary or fleeting. It was timeless and would last forever. Sally Field captivated and amazed audiences once again in the movie Forrest Gump in 1994. She played Tom Hanks's loving, kind, and wise mother in the film. This role became iconic and famous in its own special right. She later came back to television and earned critical acclaim and praise for her performances in the medical drama ER and in the family drama Brothers and Sisters. In Brothers and Sisters, she played the strong yet compassionate mother and leader of a modern American family. Her role in Brothers and Sisters was so good that it earned her another Emmy Award. This proved once again that she was one of television's finest and most talented actresses. Even when she was in her 70s and getting older, Field continued to take on and embrace roles that pushed her boundaries and challenged her abilities. She delivered a powerful stage performance in a famous play called The Glass Menagerie on Broadway in New York. She also portrayed Mary Todd Lincoln, who was President Abraham Lincoln's wife, in Steven Spielberg's movie Lincoln in 2012. This role was so impressive that it earned her yet another Oscar nomination, which means she was considered for another Academy Award. Beyond just acting in movies and TV shows, Sally became a passionate advocate and fighter for important causes. She spoke out loudly for women's rights, for LGBTQ+ equality, which means equal rights for gay, lesbian, and transgender people, and for mental health awareness. She used her fame and platform to inspire and empower other people to stand up for what's right. In 2018, Field offered her fans a deeply personal and honest look into her real life. She did this by writing a memoir, which is like an autobiography, called In Pieces. In this book, she candidly and openly shared her struggles with self-esteem and not feeling good enough about herself. She wrote about her personal triumphs and victories, and also her moments of heartbreak and sadness. The book revealed and showed the strength that was hidden behind her vulnerability and sensitive side. It connected deeply with readers who admired her honesty, bravery, and resilience, which means her ability to bounce back from hard times. Her personal life has been just as rich, full, and complex as her amazing career. Field's first marriage was to a man named Stephen Craig in 1968. This happened during her transition from being famous for the light-hearted, fun roles in Gidget and The Flying Nun to doing more serious, dramatic work. Their relationship happened during a period of great change, both in her personal life and professionally, as she worked really hard to establish herself and prove she was a serious actress. Although the couple separated and stopped living together in 1973 and then officially got divorced in 1975, they shared two sons together. Their names were Peter Craig, who was born in 1969, and Eli Craig, who was born in 1972. Both of these sons went on to build successful careers of their own in Hollywood and the entertainment business. Peter became a respected novelist who writes books and also a screenwriter who writes movie scripts. He contributed his writing to major big films such as The Town in 2010 and Top Gun, Maverick in 2022. Eli found success as both an actor who performs and a director who makes movies. He gained recognition and became known for his dark comedy film called Tucker and Dale vs. Evil in 2010. Field has often spoken with pride and joy about her sons. She emphasizes and talks about the deep, strong bond they all share together. Through all the highs and good times and lows and bad times of her long career in Hollywood, motherhood and being a mom remained her greatest source of strength and stability. It grounded her and kept her steady in the ever-changing, always moving world of Hollywood. After her marriage to Stephen Craig ended and they got divorced, Sally Field entered into one of the most publicized and talked about relationships of her entire life. This was with Hollywood icon and famous actor Burt Reynolds. Their romance and love affair began in 1976 and lasted until 1980. It captured the attention of both the media, which is newspapers and TV news, and fans everywhere. The two first met each other while they were filming the action comedy movie Smokey and the Bandit in 1977. This movie was a massive box office hit, which means it made tons of money and lots of people went to see it. The movie made them one of the most beloved and favorite on-screen and off-screen couples of the late 1970s. Their undeniable chemistry, which means how well they worked together and connected, led to them making 3 more movies together. These were The End in 1978, Hooper in 1978, and Smokey and the Bandit II in 1980. Off-screen and in their real life, however, their relationship was just as passionate and intense as it was complicated and difficult. Field later described Reynolds as someone she cared for very deeply and loved, but he was also someone who struggled with being vulnerable, which means showing his real feelings, and with control, which means wanting to be in charge of everything. These qualities and personality traits ultimately put a strain on their bond and made their relationship harder. Although they officially ended their romantic relationship in 1980, the two continued having an on-and-off connection where they would get back together and break up again for a few more years. Finally, they parted ways for good and ended things completely in 1982. In later years, when they were both older, both of them reflected on and thought back to their time together with affection and lingering emotion that never fully went away. In his memoir that he wrote in 2015, Reynolds famously called Field the love of my life. Those were powerful words. Field, in her own memoir that she wrote in 2018 called In Pieces, described their relationship as emotionally complex, which means it had many complicated feelings and at times really difficult and hard to handle. In 1984, Sally Field found love again and opened her heart when she married a film producer named Alan Graceman. By that time in her life, she was already one of Hollywood's most respected and admired actresses. She had already won 2 Academy Awards, which are the biggest prizes in movies, for Norma Rae in 1979 and Places in the Heart in 1984. With Graceman, she welcomed and had her 3rd son. His name is Sam, and he was born in 1987. Having Sam brought new joy, happiness, and meaning to her life. Field has often spoken warmly and lovingly about Sam, who is now grown up and works as a writer and advocate who speaks up for important causes. She also talks about the strong, supportive bond and connection that defines and shapes her family. Despite her demanding career that required a lot of her time and energy, Field always made motherhood and being a mom her top priority. She described the balance between work and family as both challenging and really hard, but also deeply rewarding and fulfilling. However, like many Hollywood romances and love stories, her marriage to Graceman eventually came to an end and they split up. The couple divorced and officially ended their marriage in 1994 after being together for a decade, which is 10 years. Over the years, many behind-the-scenes stories have come out and emerged from Hollywood movie sets. These are tales and stories of creative tension, which means disagreements about how to make the movie, and clashing personalities, which means people who don't get along. Yet, very few stories rival or compare to the reported friction and conflict between Sally Field and Tommy Lee Jones. Their on-set dynamic and how they interacted while making a movie would become one of the most talked about and gossiped about stories in her entire career. Though both Sally Field and Tommy Lee Jones are respected and admired Oscar-winning actors who are known for their immense talent and professionalism, their time working together on a movie called Back Roads in 1981 was notoriously turbulent. That means it was famously difficult and full of problems. Field is known for her honesty when she discusses and talks about her Hollywood experiences. She did not hesitate to express and share her true feelings about Jones. She once said these exact words: "I've worked with difficult men before, but Tommy was something else entirely. He was impossible to deal with. I truly hated him more than anyone I've ever worked with." Her words were filled with both honesty and exhaustion, which means she was worn out and tired. They reflected the deep frustration and emotional strain or stress that the experience had caused her. At the time of filming this movie, both actors were at key moments and important points in their careers. Sally Field had already proven her dramatic power and shown everyone how talented she was with acclaimed performances that got great reviews in Norma Rae in 1979 and Smokey and the Bandit in 1977. Meanwhile, Tommy Lee Jones was earning recognition and becoming known for his intense, gritty performances that were rough and real, and for his uncompromising dedication to his craft. That means he was totally committed and wouldn't settle for anything less than perfection. Their chemistry on screen, which is how they looked together in the movie, appeared raw and convincing and believable. But it was actually fueled and powered by genuine tension and real conflict behind the scenes when the cameras stopped rolling. Field later admitted and confessed that many of their emotionally charged moments in the movie didn't require any acting at all. They were completely real and genuine. She explained, "Every look, every line between us was loaded." That means their interactions were full of real feeling and tension. She continued, "I wasn't pretending to be angry at him. I was actually angry." The conflict and problems between them came from and stemmed from their opposing and completely different approaches to acting. Field's style was open, emotional, and collaborative, which means she liked working together with others. While Jones was famously brooding, which means moody and dark, methodical, which means very careful and organized, and dismissive of other people's input and ideas. His domineering attitude, which means he acted like he was the boss and better than others, clashed sharply and strongly with Field's need for respect and empathy, which means understanding and kindness. He could be condescending, she explained. That means he talked down to her like she wasn't as good as him. She went on to say, "He treated me like I didn't know what I was doing and I had already won an Academy Award. It was insulting." That means it was disrespectful and hurt her feelings. Crew members, which are the people who work on movie sets helping make the film, later recalled and remembered that the atmosphere on set was tense and draining. That means it was stressful and exhausting. The set was marked by long silences when nobody talked and visible animosity between the leads. Animosity means strong dislike and hostility between the two main actors. Yet ironically, which means in a surprising twist, that very hostility and hatred made their on-screen relationship electric and full of energy. Critics, who are people who review and judge movies, praised the rawness and realism of their performances. They thought it looked incredibly real. The critics were unaware and didn't know that it was actually born from genuine conflict and real fighting. Field later admitted that she channeled, which means she directed and used, her real frustration into the role and her character. She said, "I used every ounce of irritation I felt toward Tommy to fuel my performance. It was cathartic in a strange way." Cathartic means it helped her release her emotions and feel better. Still, once filming ended and the movie was done, she made her feelings crystal clear to everyone. She would never work with him again. Never. I couldn't stand being in the same room with him, she stated plainly and simply. Her words left no doubt about how she felt. As for Tommy Lee Jones, he never publicly responded to or answered Field's comments and what she said about him. His silence, however, which means his choice not to say anything, spoke volumes. That means it said a lot by itself. Tommy Lee Jones is known for his gruff personality, which means he's rough and not very friendly, and his aversion to Hollywood gossip. Aversion means he strongly dislikes and avoids gossip and rumors. He brushed off and dismissed rumors of any feud as nonsense and not true. Still, people who worked behind the scenes, called insiders, confirmed and verified that his temperament, which means his personality and mood, often clashed with and caused problems with co-stars. This was especially true with strong-willed ones, which means actresses who were confident and didn't back down, like Sally Field, who refused to be intimidated or scared by him. One crew member who worked on the movie Back Roads recalled and remembered, "Sally gave as good as she got." That means she fought back and stood up for herself just as strongly as he attacked her. The crew member continued, "She didn't back down and that on." Lie made things worse between them. It was like watching two storms collide. That means it was like watching two powerful forces crash into each other with lots of energy and conflict. In later years, when she was older and could look back on the experience, Field thought about it with a mix of humor and lingering irritation that never completely went away. "I suppose he's a brilliant actor," she admitted, giving him some credit. "But that doesn't mean you have to like the person. I didn't. In fact, I hated him." Her candor, which means her honest and straightforward way of speaking, struck a chord with fans. That means it connected with them and they appreciated it. Fans admired her integrity, which means her honesty and strong moral character, and her refusal to sugarcoat Hollywood's realities. Sugarcoat means to make something seem nicer or better than it really is. She reminded audiences that not every working relationship is pleasant and nice, no matter how professional people try to be. "People assume actors become friends after filming," she said, explaining a common misconception. "That's not always true. Sometimes you just survive it. That means sometimes you just get through it without becoming friends at all." Even decades later, which means many years after the movie was made, Back Roads remains a minor footnote in both actors' otherwise illustrious careers. A footnote means it's a small, not very important part of their history. Illustrious means their careers were famous and impressive. The movie is remembered less for its plot and story and more for the explosive dynamic between its stars. That means people remember the fighting and conflict between the actors more than they remember what the movie was actually about. Both actors went on to achieve great success after that difficult experience. Field had success with Places in the Heart in 1984 and Steel Magnolias in 1989. Jones had success with The Fugitive in 1993 and No Country for Old Men in 2007. Their collaboration, which means they're working together, stands as a powerful example of how creative brilliance and amazing artistic work can exist alongside, and at the same time as deep personal conflict and dislike. In the end, when all was said and done, Sally Field's feelings toward Tommy Lee Jones never softened or got better. They stayed the same. Her words, which were sharp, honest, and deeply felt from her heart, remain one of Hollywood's most striking and memorable confessions of dislike between co-stars. "He may be talented," she concluded in her final thoughts, "but talent doesn't excuse cruelty. That means being good at acting doesn't make it okay to be mean to people." She finished by saying, "I'd rather work with anyone else. Literally, anyone else would be better." That raw, unfiltered statement, which means completely honest words with nothing held back, perfectly captures the essence of Sally Field. It shows exactly who she is. She's a woman who built her legacy, which means the reputation and accomplishments she'll be remembered for, on truth, passion, and the courage to speak her mind. She's never afraid to say what she really thinks, no matter how uncomfortable that truth might be for other people to hear.